Now we turn to page 3, stanza 15. Okay, now this we are going to a little technical part, the discussion between particularly Prasangika and Chittamatra. The two schools, Chittamatra, some of you are already familiar with this school, some of you may not be familiar with this, never mind. Chittamatra is that school who believes that finally what is really there is just the mind only. Chit is the mind, only mind only. What really exists in this universe is just the mind. Oh, what about all others? The flower, the sky, the buildings, the traffic. What about all others? They don't exist. They do exist. They exist as reflections in the mind. Reflections of the mind. What is really there? The mirror and the reflection. Reflection is just something abstract there. What is solidly there is the mirror. So likewise, what is really there is just the mind, and all others are just like the reflection, like the dream, right? So whatever you dreamt, they are nothing but a part of your own dream. You agree with me? So they give this example, Chittamatra, when the Chittamatra and the Madhyamikas, when they discuss, so when they have a debate as to how, say Madhyamikas will ask this question to Chittamatrans. How can you say there is only the mind, that there is no external flower, there is no external traffic? How can you say this? What example do you have? So they say that it's like a dream. In the dream, you will dream of going to, say, Dharamsala, or first going to the Singapore airport, right? You have to get out of your house, right? There's outside, inside. Get out of your house, into the car, then get to the airport. From there, go to Delhi or Amritsar. Then from there, you take up the car to Dharamsala, right? So all these details are there. For example, you dream of that. You dream of that. All these details are there. And you think, how come that these are created by my... No, it's not my mental creation. The moment you wake up, you realize, oh, everything what came to my mind in the dream, they were all just my mental creation. It's nothing more than my own mind, right? Is there something external? What you dreamt? What you dreamt? From what you dreamt, is there anything that was something external to your mind when you wake up? No, it was just your mind. This is what Chittamatra is saying. What are we seeing now? But in the dream, you saw that it's so external there. When you wake up, you'll say that it was deception, right? In the dream, I didn't realize this. I thought this external there. When you wake up, I realized that was deception. Likewise, at the moment, we are going through our second dream. Dream, there are two kinds. Conventional dream and unconventional dream, right? So what you're going through now is the unconventional dream. Conventional dream is every day you go to sleep, you have maybe half an hour dream, 1 hour dream, 2 hours dream, whatever, right? That's a conventional dream. You have dream, come out of the dream, come out of the dream. So this is what is happening. But the unconventional dream is something which we never woke up till now. Right? We have never woken up from this dream till now. And how long it will go, we never know. If you don't put effort, it will continue we'll continue to have this dream, unconventional dream. And how painful is the unconventional dream? Okay, I don't think there is anyone who is less than 20 years old. Right? Okay, we all have some experience, minimum 20 years experience. So tell me, overall speaking, say if you are 30 years old, 30 years experience, 40 years experience, 50 years experience, so forth. So this number of years of experience, tell me, overall speaking, what is that dream like? Is it a painful dream, or is it a very, very happy dream, or painful dream? What is that like? Quite painful, overall speaking. It's very painful. One moment of a disaster is good enough. One moment of the pain of having lost your near and dear ones is good enough to nullify all the past experiences of happiness. You agree with me or not? Right? Okay, this just one moment of this pain is good enough. All whatever we experience, the birthday party, this party, that party, this picnic, whatever, right? Just make no sense the moment you go through, say, in your later part of your life, when you go through this little bit of, say, the problem within the family, then the the loss of near and dear ones, these pains, just one moment is good enough. So overall speaking, this dream is very painful. Very painful. So, if you really don't want to go through this pain of the dream, sickness, aging, death, right? And losing near and dear ones, stress, tension, depression, dissatisfactions. Okay, grief. If you don't want to go through these pains, what should we do? Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Right? Okay, so this is what Chittamatharana is saying. This is what the Madhyamikas are saying. So with this Chittamatharana, meaning mind-only school. Mind-only school says that everything is just your mind, right? If all others are a reflection of your mind. So they say everything is the nature of your mind. To put it technically correct, you say that all other things like flower, traffic, house, weather, sky, the malign, everything is just the nature of your mind, right? Nature of the mind. Okay. So what really is there is just the mind. The mind is the one which really exists objectively. This is what Chittamatharana is saying. Whereas the Prasanga is saying nothing exists objectively, including the mind. You're getting it? Okay, this is where it is not just the Chittamatharana. So when we go through this philosophy, when you go through this practice of emptiness, in order to follow this path, gade para sangha, the Bodhisattva, we can't follow the path. We can't traverse this path until you have some experience of emptiness. Acquire this experience of emptiness, what happens is that, okay, where is the self, Dorji? Where is the self? Right? It's not really the six elements. No. My mind is the self. My mind is the Dorji. This is what many people, they are bound to, slide into. To say that this mind exists so objectively, and this mind is Dorji. Right? Unless you are able to say that even this mind is also not the self, there's no way by which we can get to emptiness. So, to understand this so well, we need to know the philosophy of Chittamatharana, mind-only school philosophy. Only if we know the mind-only school philosophy so much, and then the following stanzas which you're going to study now, will you reject how this mind does not exist objectively. Only then you can proceed towards Prasangika's philosophy. Then you realize what emptiness is, right? The moment you realize emptiness, the whole purpose of the Buddha giving the 84,000 teachings is accomplished. So it says, the purpose for the Buddha to give all these 84,000 of teachings is to activate the wisdom. What wisdom? Wisdom to see everything to be empty of objective existence. So that is so precious for us. Okay. So with this now, now the stanzas we're reading down, we need to know which lines are the position of the opponents and which lines are the positions of the Prasangika. This we have to know. You're getting it? So as I mentioned this, make sure that you pay attention. You pay attention, and if possible, because that what we are discussing here is quite technical. We are going to the technicalities, because of which I would suggest you to be in the present moment, right? Don't try to correlate what you've learned yesterday, what you've learned 2 days ago, what you've learned from the earlier teachings, from other teachers. Don't try to correlate at the moment. At the moment, try to imbibe whatever is being said, right? So if you want to correlate, you can correlate later on. After the class, then you can correlate. Okay, he said this, but what I learned earlier, it said like this, so it seems like there is a contradiction. No, these two are very similar, right? So he said like this. Okay, these correlations you can do later on. At the moment, because it is a little technical, full attention is required, right? So that you will get the maximum. Okay, with this in mind, the stanza 15, first two lines, when even the deceptive awareness doesn't exist, by what is the illusion perceived? Okay, these two lines are the proponent's view. Opponent is Chittamatharana. In this case, it's the Chittamatharana. Now we are rejecting the Chittamatharans, right? Okay. So Chittamatharana, what they are saying is that you are the Prasangikas. You are Prasangika and I am Chittamatharana, right? So what you are saying is that everything is the subjectively real. Subjectively real, deceptively real. We learned it. There's no true existence. What is the opposite of true existence? What is the opposite of true existence? True as opposed to false or deceptive. Right? So if it is not truly existent, in a way you are saying things are deceptively existent, falsely existent, deceptively existent. So then you say from the Prasangika point of view, right, at the moment, even though you are not able to grab, you are not able to get everything, fine, don't worry, just try to get whatever is being said there, try your best. And if you miss something, don't worry too much, be in the present moment. Don't try to grab at the first part and you miss the remaining all what you're going to say later. Right? Okay. So, Prasangika is saying that everything exists subjectively. Everything exists deceptively. Right? The object and subject both. Object do not exist. Objects exist deceptively, no true existence. Subject also, no true existence. They exist deceptively. Now the Chittamatrans, they are arguing. They say, when even the deceptive awareness doesn't exist, by what is the illusion perceived? Okay. Today's a rose. Okay, right? Okay, let's say, what is in my hand? A rose flower, right? Okay, rose flower, you are the Prasangikas, right? What is in my hand? A deceptive rose flower. Subjectively existent rose flower. You agree with me or not? Subjectively existent rose flower, meaning deceptively existent rose flower. How do you know that there's a rose flower in my hand? Hey, how do you know? Don't panic. How do you know that there's a flower in my hand? I can see it. My mind can see that. My mind. Your mind is deceptively existent mind. Right? So it says, when even the deceptive awareness doesn't exist, deceptive awareness, say you are seeing the illusion-like flower. What is seeing this illusion of flower? Illusion-like eyes. Illusion-like awareness. Awareness meaning your mind. Illusional awareness. This illusional awareness, because it's illusion-like, it is imaginary-like. Right? So when even this deceptive awareness doesn't exist, deceptive awareness meaning this awareness which is seeing the object, this is subjectively real or objectively real? From your point of view, subjectively real. Subjectively real means deceptively real. It is deceptive. Deceptive means it's not true. Right? Then it becomes like imaginary. If it's imaginary, then there's no mind which sees the flower. So it says, when even the deceptive awareness that you have doesn't exist, is imaginary, by what is the illusory flower seen? By what sees this illusory flower perceived? This is a question posed to you, to Prasangikas, by Chittamatrans. Okay, now the next two lines, rebuttal by Prasangika against Chittamatra. So you ask the question back to me. So what I say is that my mind exists truly. All others, no external reality. All external things that I see as external, they are deception. So I'm saying that mind is not deceptive, but what I'm seeing, they're all deceptive. This is Chittamatra's view. Prasangika is saying what you are seeing, what sees and what is seen, both are deceptive. Chittamatrans are saying what? The mind which sees is not deceptive. It is truly there. But the object that you are seeing as external, that is deceptive. Now you are challenging me, saying, for you, if the illusion itself doesn't exist, illusion meaning the object. Object, what are you seeing? They're like dream, right? So, but we seem so real, external. Then what is the Chittamatra's response? This is your illusion, right? So, when you say that, oh, that is external, right? I see the external, there's a flower there, external there. What is the Chittamatra's response to you? This is illusion, right? Okay, so for you, if the illusion itself doesn't exist, if this is illusion, then it is imaginary. If the flower becomes imaginary, what are you seeing now? Right? This is your argument against me. For you, if the illusion itself doesn't exist, then what is being perceived? What are you seeing? You're not seeing anything, right? Okay, these are the two debates. Now, how to settle who is correct, who is not correct? So that will be decided on the basis of the following discussions. Okay, good. 16, next page. In actuality, it exists as something else. Now, okay, now the Chittamatara is me. I'm explaining this to you, right? In actuality, okay, in actuality, it exists, it meaning the flower exists as something else. Meaning, it appears as, okay, how does this flower appear to you? As external? As external to your eyes? Or it's like a reflection to your eyes? How does it appear to you? As external. So that is deceptive. That is illusion. This is what Chittamatrans are telling you, right? So in actuality, it exists as something else. Something else meaning it does not exist as external, right? It exists as like a dream. In a dream, I show you the flower. Again, how many of you dreamt of having class? Hey, anyone? Yesterday there was somebody who dreamt. You, right? No. Severin, right? Severin, you had the dream last time. Okay, let's say you dreamt of me showing you a flower. What is this? You say the flower. How does it appear to you? You say external, right? Okay. Then in the dream, if I say this is not external, it's your dream, you will say no, I don't. You're wrong. When you wake up, you realize, oh, that was my dream, right? That was no external. It was just a part of my dream. You're getting it? So this is what Chittamatrans is saying. So although this flower appears as external, but it exists differently. How differently? It exists as a reflection in your mind, not as external. It exists as something else meaning like a reflection. Okay. Aspect of which is the very mind itself, meaning that the flower that you're seeing is just like the reflection in the mirror. You're getting it? Reflection in the mirror and the mirror, is there a difference? Can you pull out the reflection from the mirror? You cannot. So the reflection is the nature of the mirror. Likewise, this flower that you're seeing is the reflection of your own mind. You're getting it? These two are the same nature. It is not external. Okay. The aspect of which, meaning the aspect of flower, is the very mind itself, is the nature of the mind itself. When mind itself is like an illusion, then what is being seen by what? Okay, the first two lines by Chittamatrans, the next two lines by Prasangika. Okay, I'm indicating which are the position of which philosophy. The first two lines, stanza 16, Chittamatrans philosophy, Chittamatrans view, and the next two lines, rejection by Prasangika. When mind itself is like an illusion, so there you are seeing this flower, but you said that what you are seeing is illusion. What you are seeing is illusion, which means that your mind cannot be trusted. Okay, tell me. There are two people, right? There are two people. There are two persons. And one always tells truth. And he's in Nigeria. And one tells truth when he's in good mood. and you never know when he's good mood, bad mood, you never know. Simply by appearance you cannot figure out, right? Okay, when he's not in good mood, he will dare to say anything lies, right? Okay, and suddenly you are in Singapore, not in Nigeria. And the other person who tells lies sometimes, he's in Singapore. He's so easily accessible. You can easily access this person, right? So you have a very, very important decision to make, right? For this matter, you need a very important information. That information is in the hand of these two friends. One in Nigeria who always tells truth, and the one in Singapore who sometimes tells lies. Right? Okay, tell me. Say, and it's so easy for you to get the information from Singapore. From the other, you have to pay at least, say, all the flight ticket, because you cannot get access to him directly. You have to go there in person, right? Flight ticket, bag, stay in the hotel, right? All these expenses are here. You don't have to pay even a single dollar. Tell me, which of the two persons you could ask? Huh? Nigerian or the one in Singapore? Huh? Hey, tell me, hey. And it's the expense, total expenditure is like, say, 10,000 Sing dollars, right? And the business that you're running is like $20 billion. Right? Can you take the risk to ask the person here in Singapore? No. Why not? But he tells truth sometimes. Right? Today maybe he will tell the truth. Why do you want to consult him? Why? Because he's not reliable. You getting it? Because he tells lies sometimes. So likewise, okay. How do you decide that there's a flower in my hand? Huh? How do you decide there's a flower in my mind? Because my mind, well, your mind is that person who tells lies in Singapore. Your mind, because your mind sees this as an external flower. It's not true. So your mind is telling lies. So how can you rely on this eye? It tells lies. You are getting it? So it says that when mind itself is like an illusion, it is deceptive. It tells lies. Then what is being seen by what? How can you say that you can 100% you can show that you are seeing the flower because I trust my eyes? How can you say this? Right? This is an incredibly great debate. Right? If you can study this, right, and then you keep studying this more, reflecting this, and then slowly your understanding of the philosophy is going to be very profound. Your understanding of emptiness is going to be very profound. Okay. 17. Right? Okay, now. Okay. Okay, tell me. So you said, do you agree with me? There's somebody who tells lies sometimes, who tells truth sometimes. You cannot really rely on this person. You agree with me? Yes. If this is how it happens in the conventional world, so the question is whether this flower exists as externally, whether this flower exists as the nature of your mind, whether this flower exists as empty of objective existence. You are taking a huge decision, very important. You're making a very important decision, right? So when you say that everything is like a dream, nothing exists objectively, right? It's a tremendous power to remove your fear, and it can take you to enlightenment. When you say that things are all objectively real, you can never be free from suffering. So for that matter, whether the flower exists objectively, subjectively, whether the nature of the mind, this is a very serious matter. It has to do with the ultimate happiness. So therefore, this is a very serious matter. Okay, so how do you decide that the flower exists? The flower exists in my hand? My eye consciousness decides. And how reliable are your eye consciousness? This is a question. Big question. Okay, now you are what? Prasangika, right? And I'm Chittamatra. Okay, so I have to solve my problem, right? Somebody asks this question, I have to solve my problem. So listen to how the Chittamatras solve their own problem. So they said, okay, the flower. Okay, you asked me the question, how do you know that there's flower in your hand? I said, my eye consciousness can see that. Then your argument is what? Your eye consciousness is deceptive. It cannot be relied upon. Yes, it cannot be relied upon, but, okay, let's say, the flower, how do you know that the flower exists? My eye consciousness can see this. My eye consciousness can see this. And how do you know that the eye consciousness exists? Who sees the eye consciousness? Right? What is your answer? Who sees your mind? Another mind. Who sees another mind? Right? Okay. So, say you go like this, it is 8:29. Finally, you go down to the another mind of 8:29. Who sees the mind of 8:29? The next mind is yet to arise. Because it's just 8:29 sharp now. Right? The next mind is yet to come. So how can you decide that there's a flower there? This is a big question. Right? So Chittamatrans, they give a beautiful answer. So therefore I hold the Chittamatran philosophy. And I give you the Prasangika. Right? Okay, how? So listen, this is a very serious question. So they say that, how do you know that there's a flower in my hand? So I give the answer, because I can see with my eyes. But your eyes are not reliable. Never mind. But eyes, I'm sure that my eyes saw that, because this eye has another element. This eye has another element known as self self-cognizant mind. This I has two functions. Okay, don't worry, right? This I has my two eyes, they have two functions. One to see outside and one to see inside, right? To see itself. One to see outside. How do you know there is a flower in my hand? My eyes can see that. This is my eyes to see outside. And how do you know that your eyes are there? Within that, there is one side which sees itself, known as self-cognizant mind. Self-cognizing mind, self-cognizant mind, self-cognizance, all same. Self-cognizant mind sees itself. Okay, so how do you know that there's such a self-cognizant mind? They give a beautiful example. Okay, imagine if there is no light, do you think that you can read do you think that you can read, you can write what you're doing now? You cannot. At this time, you cannot. But how come that you're able to read things so well now, at this moment? How come? Because of the light. And not only you are seeing the book, you're also seeing the light. Do you see the lights? Do you see the book? What made you see the book? Because of the light. Not only you see the book, you also see the light. What made you see the light? Because light itself. Right? So the light does two functions. The light has two functions. One to illuminate external objects and the other to illuminate itself. Right? You getting it? Okay. So just as the light has two functions, our mind has two functions. Mind to see external things, to see other things, not external, to see other things from Chittamatra point of view. To see other things and to see itself. Right? When it sees other things, it can be deceptive. When it sees itself, it never deceives itself. This is known as self-cognizant mind. Self-cognizant mind is never deceptive. This is the philosophy. If you, the prasangikas, if you are able to somehow prove that the self-cognizant mind is non-existent, whole Chittamatra philosophy shatters. You getting it? Okay. So one way by which to understand emptiness very precisely is by first of all studying Chittamatra philosophy so well and then see to the flaws of Chittamatra philosophy. Particularly by proving that the self-cognizant mind, which Chittamatra, the whole philosophy Chittamatra rests on, this self-cognizant mind is non-existent. When you're able to prove that, then you get a deep, deep conviction that even the mind does not exist. Even the mind does not exist objectively. You're getting it? Okay, this is a very important discussion. Now next, stanza 17. The guardian of the world meaning the Buddha, right? So tell me, thus far, Chittamatrans, how do they defend their position? Finally, what is the position with which they defended their whole philosophy? Self-cognizant mind, right? So, okay, tell me. Now, for the time being, we can exchange. You are the Chittamatran, right? Tell me, how do you know there's a flower is in my hand? I can see that. And your eyes are not reliable, or can be deceptive. Never mind. How do you know that you have the eye consciousness? Because of self-cognizant mind. You're getting it? Now I'm challenging you, right? Okay. So the next says, stanza 17 is how Chittamatran philosophy is rejected with the help of the Buddha's teachings. So it is done, rejecting Chittamatran's self-cognizant mind by two ways. One, by citing the Buddha's teachings, and number two, by reasoning. Two ways. This is very powerful. Always done in this way. Because the other side is Buddhist, they accept the Buddha's words. And because the other side is somebody who is a sensible person, they accept the reasoning. Right? Okay, so therefore, from these two ways, the Chittamatran are rejected. Okay, so first the Buddha's words. Guardian of the world, in fact said, the Buddha, guardian of the world meaning the guide, the Buddha who is the guide of the world. In fact said where? Said in the Jewel of the Crown Sutra. Jewel of the Crown Sutra. There's one sutra by the title, Jewel. Jewel of the Crown Sutra. In this sutra, the Buddha said, mind cannot see mind. Self-cognizance is not possible. The Buddha said self-cognizance is not possible. Mind cannot see mind, just as the edge of a sword cannot cut itself. So it is with the mind. However sharp the sword is, the knife. However sharp the knife is, knife can cut other things, but the knife cannot cut itself. Right? This is an example given by the Buddha. However sharp the knife is, knife may cut the bread, knife may cut wood, and so forth, but the same knife cannot cut itself. Do you know this? Do you agree with this? Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay, same knife cannot cut itself. So therefore, however sharp the mind is, the mind cannot see itself. The same mind cannot see itself. Second moment of the mind can see the first moment of the mind. That's fine. But the first moment of the mind itself cannot see the first moment of the mind. So this is what the Buddha said. This is how it contradicts with the Buddha's teachings. Number 1. Stanza 18. 18 is rejecting the self-cognizant mind by the reasoning. Now, opponents, because the opponents not only are Buddhists, they're also sensible people. Right? Sensible people, they will accept the reasoning, sound reasoning. So now 18 is the reasoning. It says that, but it is just like the way a lamp flame perfectly illuminates its own characteristics. The flame, okay, first 2 lines is by Chittamatra. First 2 lines. Chittamatra Mu saying that, but they say the mind does see itself. Because like a lamp, like a light, the light, it illuminates other objects and also it illuminates itself. So likewise the mind, it illuminates other objects and knows other objects, and the mind knows itself. 2 things. This is what Chittamatra would say. First 2 lines. The next line. The flame of lamp is not being illuminated since darkness does not obscure darkness. Right? The light cannot illuminate itself. Illuminate means first it was dark. Illuminate means first it was dark, and then with the help of light, then it becomes bright. So light has never been dark. You agree? Singapore, sometimes light is dark. Light has never been dark. If it is dark, it's not light. So illuminate means something which was dark initially, and because of the light source, this darkness is eradicated. This is known as the meaning of the illumination. So therefore light does not illuminate itself, because the light does not require illumination. Because it is never dark. Right? The flame of a lamp is not being illuminated since darkness does not obscure darkness. It has 2 reasons now. 1, it has never been dark. Number 2, if the light illuminates itself, the darkness obscures itself. If the darkness obscures itself, there should be no darkness. Where there is a darkness, the darkness will obscure itself. When the darkness is obscured, then light should come out. So everywhere there should be light. This is contradictory. 2 reasons. Okay. So with this, what is rejected is self-cognizant mind is rejected. Okay, now further reasons. Stanza 19. For an intrinsic blue to be blue, it does not depend on something else, as does a crystal. We see some that depend on others and some that do not. Okay, now stanza 19 is Chittamatra's view. Chittamatra's philosophy, Chittamatra's view. Stanza 19. Now Chittamatra, they come up with another example. Say, they speak about blueness. Okay, do you agree? The examples that they give is just brilliant. Right? The blueness. Blueness, there are 2 kinds of blueness. One, this blue, the cover blue. Right? This cover blue, it is blue. It is blue whether they say the, okay, let me give, say on this blue, you put a crystal like this. Put a crystal which is colorless crystal, you put on the blue base. And from distance you will see this as a blue. Crystal will assume a blue color. This blue color is not the real color of the crystal. It is an adventitious color. It assumes the color later on. Right? When you remove from the blue base, automatically it will assume a different color. When you put it on the, say, pink, it will assume a pink color. Okay. Whereas the blueness of the lapis lazuli, the precious stones, some precious stones which are blue in color, lapis lazuli, right? So these things, they're blue, intrinsically they're blue. It's not that they acquire the blueness from some other effects. It is intrinsically blue. Whereas the blueness of the crystal, which is put on the blue base, this is not the intrinsic blue. It's just the advantageous blue. You're getting it? Do you see the distinction? Okay. So likewise, say the mind which is directed towards outside. Within the mind, they say the mind is that it does two functions. One, it is directed outside, and number two, it is directed itself too. So with respect to being directed outside, it is not reliable. It is not reliable like the blueness of the crystal. Right? Put on a blue base, it becomes blue. Put on the pink base, it becomes pink. It's not reliable. Whereas the mind directed to itself is very reliable. Like the lapis lazuli blueness of the lapis lazuli is so reliable, very stable. Right? So this is what they say. It says, 19. For an intrinsic blue means the blueness of a lapis lazuli stone. Right? Very stable color. For an intrinsic blue to be blue, it does not depend on something else. It does not require the blue base. It does not require any other factor. It is blue as an intrinsic quality. For example, charcoal. Charcoal is black. Is a black by intrinsic quality. For intrinsic blue to be blue, it does not depend on something else, as does a crystal. As does crystal, meaning crystal to acquire blue color, it depends on other factors. Whereas those with the intrinsic blue, like lapis lazuli, right, they don't depend on other factors. This distinction we have to make. So likewise with the mind, within the mind, it has two functions. One, direct towards outside, which can be deceptive, and one direct towards inside, which is never deceptive, which is very reliable. So, okay, tell me. So the mind has two functions. You have to relate the two examples with the two functions. Oh, what is the example related to the mind directed towards the outside? The crystal assuming blue color, pink color, yellow color, depending on the external factors. Okay, what is the example given by Chittamatrans for the mind when directed inward itself? The blueness of the lapis lazuli color, which is very stable. For this blueness, you don't require the blue base or whatever. You're getting it? You're better in Chittamatra actually. So we'll switch our position. You'll be Chittamatra and I'll be the Prasangika. Okay. So now it says that, say 19, for an intrinsic blue to be blue, it does not depend on something else. So that is the stable blue. Whereas as does the crystal, meaning the crystal depends on something else. That is the unstable blueness. So likewise, we see some that depends on others and some that do not. We meaning that, say, we see that there are things, blueness, there's some that depends on others, there's some that doesn't depend on others. Whereas the consciousness, our mind, it has two functions. The function related to seeing outside things, right? It depends so many factors, karma, right? The previous ignorance, they all affect. So therefore, sometimes it becomes the deceptive, sometimes seeing flower is fine, seeing external flower is wrong, all these different things. But when directly inwards, seeing what is inside, karma does not affect. No other factors can affect the mind, seeing what is inside. Self-cognizant mind, seeing the mind, it is not affected by any ignorance of the past. You're getting it? This is very stable. Okay. We see some that depends on others. Some that depend on others. What is that? The other cognizant mind. Self-cognizant mind, other cognizant mind. You're getting it? Other cognizant mind and self-cognizant mind. Other cognizant mind is those that depend on other factors. And some that do not. What is that? Some that do not? Self-cognizant mind. Okay, this is how they make distinction. Now, with this philosophy, what happens is that when you say that, what is the self? Self exists so solidly there like a dream? No, not like a dream, so solid. Now, how do you know that there's a self exists? Which is a self? Then when you ask this question, the body is the self, the mind is the self like this, then it becomes very hazy. Does it become hazy a little bit? Do meditation? Where's the self? Somebody challenges you, right? Where's the self? Where's the admin? Oh, I'm here, sir, I'm here. Just as you. No. Then where is you? Your body is not you. No. Then your mind is you. Yes, no. It's very hazy. You keep doing like this. Unless you study this philosophy, articulation is not there. Clarity is not there. Your mind becomes very hazy. And in this haziness, you may go through a great difficulty and the what? Some kind of dullness, and then you don't want to be in this state. Right? So by studying this, it will become very clear. Yes, it does exist, not exist. The mind, the self-cognizant mind exists, not exist. It becomes very clear. It will give such a clarity. Once you acquire that skill of the clarity, then meditation emptiness it gives you such the feeling of the buoyancy, such a feeling of the lightness within your mind and profundity. Okay, these benefits are there. Now 20. 20 is Prasangika's rejection. 20 is Prasangika's rejection. 20. There is no self-created blue, which is dependence void blue. So Chittamathran, they said that the blueness, there are two. One which is very stable, one which is dependent on other factors. The Bodhisattva Shantideva, Prasangika is saying that there's nothing which is not dependent on others. Everything is dependent on others. There is no blueness which is never independent, right? Everything is dependent. So therefore, you cannot give an example of a very stable blue which is not dependent on other factors. Everything, even the blueness of the lapis lazuli depends on external light, right? If the external light from the sun falling on the lapis lazuli, if this sunlight, which is made of the 7 colors, if the blue color is missing there, this lapis lazuli will not appear as blue. You're getting it? So therefore, the fact that you see it as blue is also because of the external factors. There's no stable blue. There's no what is known as the independent blue. Right? Okay. Stanza 20. So there is no self-created blue. Self-created blue meaning very independent blue, which is dependence void. Dependence void meaning which is not dependent, which is independent blue. Okay. So we study these things. What is happening is that our belief in intrinsic reality, our belief in objectification, our belief in solidification of things, that things should be so solidly there, right? So when we study this, there's nothing which is not dependent. The moment we say like this, you say yes. The moment you say yes, one of the knots believing in intrinsic reality, knot is untangled. Every time you study this, the knots are untangled. This is where you understand emptiness becomes better, better, better. This is so precious. Okay, 21. If you say that the mind cognizes the illumination of the lamp flame, based upon whose cognition can the statement be made, a mind has an illuminating nature. Okay, now the summary of the question, summary of the debate from Prasangika towards Chittamathran. You are what? Huh? You are not happy to be with Chittamathrans. Okay, never mind. I'll be the Chittamathran then. So you then challenge, you summarize your debate against me that if you say that like this flower, if I say that the flame, there's a flame, say, okay, the what? The lamp's flame of the lamp. So there's lamp here, there's a flame there, flame of the lamp. And how do you know there's a flame of lamp in my hand? I can see this. So it says, if you say that the mind cognizes the illumination of the lamp flame, this lamp flame, how do you know there's a lamp flame there? My mind sees it. Your mind sees this. Right? Then, based upon whose cognition can the statement be made? A mind has the illuminating nature. So this mind, how can you say that then this mind, okay, this is seen by this mind, fine. But how do you know that this mind, it exists? What illuminates this mind? So you would say, oh, you're Chittamatma, right? Okay, so you say self-cognizant mind. You say self-cognizant mind. So the Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra is saying that, okay, 22. With this question asked, then the 22, since mind has never been seen by anyone, right? Okay, so the mind is never been seen by anyone, meaning, say the flame seen by the mind. So this mind is never seen by self-cognizant mind. And you say, no, self-cognizant mind sees it, right? So from the earlier reasonings and the reasons to be given below, rejecting the self-cognizant mind, right? Reason to be given below. From there, you will come to realize that self-cognizant mind is non-existent. And then, from Chittamatra's point of view, it is the self-cognizant mind, not any other mind. So from your side, the other cognizant mind does not cognize this mind. What cognizes mind? Self-cognizant mind. Other cognizant mind, you don't accept. Self-cognizant mind, I reject you. Right? So therefore, no mind cognizes this. If no mind cognizes this, you cannot say that this lamp is illuminated by my mind. This lamp is seen by my mind. So this mind, there's no basis for you to say that this mind exists. Because this mind, if it exists, somebody should see that. What somebody? The other cognizant mind or the self-cognizant mind? Other cognizant mind, you don't accept. Self-cognizant mind, I reject. Right? So therefore you cannot posit that this mind is seen. If this mind is not seen, you cannot say that there's a mind which sees the flame. If you cannot see this, then even the flame, whether it exists or not, is questionable. Then you will disrupt all the functionalities of the world. So this is how Prasanga rejects it. Okay, 22. Since mind is never seen by anyone meaning, nor by the other cognizant mind, not by other cognizant, neither by the other cognizant mind, nor by the self-cognizant mind. Why not by the other cognizant mind? Because Chittamatras do not believe that. Okay, it is not that. Okay, listen, this is very important. Chittamatrans, do they believe in other other cognizant mind? Do they believe in other cognizant mind? Yes, no? No? Okay. So this light, the light of the flame, this flame of the lamp, who says that? My mind says that. This mind is the other cognizant mind or self-cognizant mind? This is the other cognizant mind. So within that, there is a self-cognizant mind. Within that, there are two. One directly outside, that is the other cognizant mind. One directly inside, this is self-cognizant. They do accept self-cognizant mind, but the same mind cannot be cognized by other cognizant mind. This is what they say. Same mind cannot be cognized by other cognizant mind. Same mind should be cognized by self-cognizant mind. But self-cognizant mind is rejected by prasangikas. You're getting it? So when he says, since mind is never been seen by anyone meaning, nor by self-cognizant, nor by other cognizant. Why not by cognizant, other cognizant? Because the same mind cannot be seen by other cognizant according to Chittamatrans. And why not by self-cognizant? This is rejected by prasangikas. Okay, now, since mind has never been seen by anyone, even if discussed as to whether it is self-luminous or not is meaningless. Because self-cognizant mind is so this mind, whether self-cognizant, self-luminous, other luminous, that makes no sense because no mind sees this. Right? Okay. Like the attractive gesture of a barren woman's daughter. Barren woman meaning, okay, say somebody say like, what examples do you have for non-existent things? Sky flower and horn of rabbit, right? Okay, like that. Horn of rabbit cannot really pierce anything. Sky flower cannot be used for decoration, right? So like this, they say the child of a barren woman cannot have an attractive gesture. Rejecting self-cognizant mind. Now it's going in more deeper. Self-cognizant mind. This is okay. Little complicated, but I wouldn't say it is difficult. I would say a little complicated. If you pay a little attention, you will understand it, right? Okay, reject self-cognizant. 23. But if a self-cognizant mind does not exist, how can a consciousness be recalled? Okay, this is a big debate from Chittamatra. Okay, now, you, what is you? Who are you? Chittamatra? Prasangika? Chittamatra. Chittamatra Prasangika? Okay, my opponent. Okay. So let's say you are Chittamatra. Let's say you are Chittamatra. Okay, now you are saying, okay, now Prasangika, you have done a good job. You have rejected my position. Self-cognizant mind is fine. Now you give me the answer. If you don't accept self-cognizant mind, how can you account for the memory? Right? This is a big question, right? Okay, so Wayne, what food did I eat this afternoon? Why not? Even the person who sit next to me, he cannot remember what I ate. Because I ate, he did not eat this. But tell me, what is the answer? Why don't you remember what I ate this afternoon? Exactly. Okay, this is the answer. You give the correct answer, right? Okay. So what was the answer? The question was, I asked Wayne, we were not together whole this morning, whole this afternoon, but what I was asking is, please remind me what food I ate this afternoon, this lunch. What lunch did I eat? And he said, I don't know. Why you don't know? Because I did not see you eating the lunch. Getting it? Okay. Now, who are you? You are the Prasangikas. Now what you are saying, hey, do you agree with Wayne? Later on you may complain that we do not agree with Wayne. Okay, first you have to tell me, do you agree with Wayne? Yes. Okay, if you agree with Wayne, if you have not seen me eating before, you cannot possibly remember what I ate in the afternoon. If you did not see me eating the lunch in the afternoon, you cannot possibly remember unless, somebody should give you feedback. He ate this, report everything to you, right? If it does not happen in a national course, then you cannot remember what I ate if you have not seen me eating before, right? Okay, which means to have the recollection of something, you should have seen that object before. You should have experienced that object before. Do you agree with me or not? Okay, louder. Yes. Okay. Now don't lower your tone, right? You said yes. Okay, now the question. Now question coming from Chittamatra, you are Prasangika, right? Okay, the question is, you're getting it? Let's say it is at the moment, let's say it's 9 sharp. Let's say it's 9 sharp, 9 p.m. sharp. Let's say 8:55 p.m. I showed you the flower. 8:55 p.m. I showed the flower. Now I ask you, do you remember that flower which I showed you 8:55? Yes. How do you remember that? Because I saw that at 8:55, which means your mind, this is a flower, 8:55, and then your mind at 8:55 saw this. And you are Prasangika, you don't believe in self-cognizant mind. Right? Now this mind of 55 We saw the flower. How do you remember this? Not only you remember the flower, you also remember the mind which saw the flower at 8:55. Because of the mind at 8:56, you may shift it down. Right? You don't believe in self-cognizant mind. You're prasangika. Right? So the mind of 8:56 saw the mind at 8:55. Fine, good. But who saw the mind at 8:56? The mind at, hey, tell me. Louder, louder. 8:57. Wow, wonderful. How do you know that the mind of 8:57 exists? And mind of 8:58. Now louder. 8:58. Saw that. How do you know the mind of 8:58 existed? Mind 8:59 saw this. Hey, louder. Keep louder. Right? How do you know the mind 8:59 existed? Because the mind of the 9 sharp. How do you know the mind of the 9 sharp? Louder. Huh? Singaporean prasangikas are very strange. Usually the prasangikas, they are very confident. Right? Singapore's prasangika, I don't know, something's wrong. Okay, because the first is so loud, and then it becomes low. Okay, now at 9 sharp, this mind, how do you know that this mind exists? Right? You don't believe in self-cognizant mind. And the other cognizant mind is yet to arise, because it's 9 at the moment. You getting it? So this is where you get stuck. If you don't believe in self-cognizant mind, you cannot account for the recollection of the past memories. This is the incredibly strong debate put forth by Chittamatrans against the Prasangikas. You're getting it? Okay, let us see what Prasangika has to give. Prasangika has to say. Where are we? 23. But if a self-cognizing mind does not exist, how can a consciousness be recalled? First 2 lines by Chittamatra. The next 2 lines by Prasangika. Through a connection with experiencing another, recollection happens like a rat's poison. Okay, so this is the response given by Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra on behalf of Prasangika. And Lama Tsongkhapa, he praised Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra for this answer. He said that this is a brilliant answer coming from Prasangika. Okay, so what he said was that they say, okay, there was one particular tiny animal, not really a rat as such, but let's say a rat, one particular typical species of rat. So that, say, if in winter, if that animal bites you, you can feel the pain of the bite. You can feel the pain that, oh, somebody bit me, right? You can see that the rat actually bites you now. When it bites, sometimes the poison is injected, sometimes the poison is not injected. So how do you know? So at the moment, that very moment, there's no clue that you can know, right? Unless you go to hospital. If you don't go to hospital, there's no clue. That because you don't feel any pain, just the very sharp pain when it bites, finish. Then the pain is over. If the poison is injected, the bite happened in the winter, and then the next monsoon, rainy season, when the thunder strikes, it is by dependence. It is by dependent origin that thunder strikes and the poison inside. These two effect, for example, the gold, the silver, the mercury. Mercury, when you put it on a glass, it has no effect. Mercury, when it touches the gold, instantly it reacts. You're getting it? It is by dependent origination. Likewise, this thunderstorm and the poison, that rat's poison, when the poison is there, You are not aware of that. It doesn't pain you at that moment. Till the thunder strikes. When the thunder strikes, with the thunder and the poison there, by these two things combined together, the pain erupts in you. So during that time, you are not bitten. You are not bitten, but the thunder strike hits the place, and then the pain erupts in you. The pain erupts you. The pain comes to you. So where the pain was exactly where the rat bit you last time in the winter, right? So now from there, what is the conclusion that come to you? Oh, that time when the rat bit me, there was the injection of the poison happened, right? So although you did not experience the injection of the poison at that time, but now you could say that, oh, the poison was injected that time. So you have some kind of the awareness that the poison was injected. Poison was injected that time, although you do not experience it that time. So Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra was saying that in order to have the recollection in the future, it is not necessary that you should experience the object before. But Prasangika of Singaporeans, they say that in order to have the recollection of the object, you have to have seen the object before. This is what the Singaporean Prasangika's version, right? But the Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra's Prasanga version says that it's not necessary, right? Okay, so now in this connection, this is very important. So when you say that, okay, how do you remember that I was holding a flower at 8:55 sharp? Because my mind sees that. My mind, right? Do you remember the flower? Yes, I remember the flower. You're getting it? I remember the flower. So there what happens is that the flower, who remembers? I, the subject, and the flower, the object, these two are glued together. Glued together. By remembering the flower, you also remember the subject. By remembering the subject, you also remember the flower. It is not required to go back. To go the mind next moment. No, there's no need for you to go like this. So similarly, remember the flower, you also remember the subject. Because you say, yes, I remember the flower. I is the subject. I remember the flower. Right? So when you say, I remember the flower, by remembering the I, you also remember the flower. So there's a mutuality of dependence. It's not only linear dependency. There's a mutuality of dependence. So this is how Prasangika explains. So for that matter, even without self-cognizant mind, still you can explain the phenomena of recollection, the memory. Okay, let's read this again, 23. But if a self-cognizant mind does not exist, how can a consciousness be recalled? Through a connection with experiencing another, say, the flower and your mind. These two are connected. These two connected. When you remember the flower, you remember the mind which remembers which saw the flower. You remember the mind which saw the flower, you also remember the flower. These two are mutually connected. You don't have to go back like this. Through a connection with experiencing another, recollection of happens, like a rat's poison. 24. But it can illuminate itself, because when with other conditions, okay, now Chittamatran, they never give up. Okay, now Chittamatrans. So what they say is that, okay, look, say for example, our mind, although our mind does not have the capacity to see faraway things, right? Okay, can you see what is happening in Dharamsala now? You don't know, right? Unless you go through Google search, right? So otherwise, with your bare consciousness, we do not have that capacity. Do you know what is happening in the other parts of the Milky Way galaxy? Do you hear the sound? You don't hear the sound, right? Okay, so which means that our mind is so limited. But what Chittamatam is saying, that with the practice of samadhi, our eyes will acquire skill to see very far away objects, right? And our ears will acquire skill to hear the sound of the remote past and distance. Remote distance and remote past. Time, right? What is remote in time, what is remote in space. So our eyes and our ear will acquire that skill. If we acquire this skill to see very far away objects, why don't you see the near one, your own consciousness? Right? Chittamathra, they will say this. They are saying this, right? Because they have the ability to see far away things. You can easily see what is near yourself. What is the nearest? The mind itself. So the mind can see itself, right? When it's the capacity to see very far away things. For example, when you can see the flower in Potala Palace now, right? From Singapore, you can see the flower in Potala Palace. The flower next on my table is very easy to see, right? So what is nearer is so easy to see when you can see what is very far away. So therefore, self-cognizant mind is very possible. This is what they are saying. Now the Prasangika, okay, you say that, okay, same, if you have blurry eyes, right? When your eyes become very dry, we have some problem. Eyes become dry. When eyes become very dry, then it can become very blurry. Then you put what? You put the eye drops. With this, then the sight becomes very clear, yes? Right? So, with this, then you see even the very minute things outside there very clear. So, although you see with this eye drop, you see what is outside, but you cannot see the eye drop itself. Do you see the eye drop? Eye drop is closer, or what you're reading is closer? Right? So this is Prasangika's response. Right? It is not necessary that if you're able to see far away, it is not necessary you should be able to see the nearer things. Because with the lotion that you apply, you may see things very clearly from outside, but you don't see the lotion that you apply to your eyes, which is so near. Okay. 24. But it can illuminate itself because when with other conditions like the meditative practice and so forth, then one sees very far away objects, one hears very far away sounds, right? These are all very abbreviated there. Okay. So where you want to make notes, right? You add these words. Because when with other conditions such as samadhi practice, meditation practice, one sees far away objects and one hears far away sounds. So what is said is that when you are able to see far away things, why not you see the near things? This is implied, right? Then the response given. The next two lines, response given by Prasangika. By means of applying magic eye lotion, a vase is seen while the eye lotion is not. Say in the past. So the example that I give you is the contemporary example, like the eye lotion and so forth. But in the past, it is said that there are some, say, magical lotion, right? Some solution, magically consecrated. You apply this to your eyes, then you see the treasure underneath. You see that treasure underneath. Okay, don't ask for where can I get this. Right? Okay, treasure underneath. Although with this lotion you see the treasure underneath, which is so hidden from the ordinary eyes, but you cannot see the lotion which is applied to your eyes, which is so near. What is near, when you see something which is obscured, doesn't mean that you will see what is nearer to you. Okay, 25. Those which are seen. Okay, this is so important. 25 is what we have learned from day one. Okay, pertaining to the understanding of emptiness, two questions. What are the two questions? Do things exist? What is the answer? Yes. Some people say no. Wow, amazing. This is Prasangika. This is Singaporean Prasangika. Do things exist? No. Okay. KK, right? Inform her. Right? Okay. So, do things exist? Yes. Yes. Right? So, Prasangika, when I say that nothing exists objectively, doesn't mean that the Prasangika is not rejecting things. that you see, that you hear, that you experience, that you taste, you are not rejecting the existence of these things. Things are accepted to exist. That accords with the answer to the first question. Do things exist? Answer is yes. What's number 2? Do things exist objectively? What is the answer? No. Right? Okay. Seeing things objectively is rejected. Not seeing things. Seeing things is not rejected. Seeing things is not rejected. What is rejected is seeing things as objectively is rejected. Why? Seeing things as objectively, this is the misperception, and this is responsible for all our sufferings. Very good. Okay, this stanza is so precious. 25. Those which are seen, heard, or known are not to be negated. You're getting it? Prasangika is not negating what you see, what you hear, what you experience, what you know. That's not what they are negating. It accords with the answer to the first question. Do things exist? Answer is yes, everything exists. Okay, now what is rejected? Here, the conception of true existence, conception of objective existence. Okay, what are the synonyms? Objective existence, true existence, intrinsic existence, inherent existence, independent existence, absolute existence, existence from its own side, ultimate existence, right? So these are rejected. Things are not rejected. Things existing objectively is rejected. Okay, here the conception of true existence, objective existence, which is the cause of suffering, is to be rejected. You getting it? This distinction we have to make, right? Okay, this distinction we have to make. So with this, what happens is that how can you make this distinction that things exist but they don't exist objectively? How can you make this distinction? You can make this distinction so beautifully only if you know how emptiness equals dependent origination and how dependent origination equals the middle way. You're getting it? Let me say this again. So this distinction between that things exist, everything exists, but they don't exist objectively. This distinction that everything does exist, but they don't exist objectively. This distinction can be made best by understanding emptiness to mean dependent origination and dependent origination to mean the middle way. Right? This is so important. Okay, so some of you already familiar with this. I'm going to repeat this, particularly for those who are new to this. Okay, so first, how emptiness is seen to mean dependent origination. Did we do this in this class? In this class? Huh? Serache. Okay. Never mind. Okay, so which means that we'll do this here, right? This is very important. So how emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness is the meaning of dependent origination, number 1. How dependent origination is the meaning of middle way. So therefore, emptiness is not nothingness, is the middle way. You're getting it? Okay, emptiness is the meaning of dependent origination, and dependent origination is the meaning of middle way. So therefore, emptiness means the middle way, is not nihilism. You're getting it? Okay, so how this is so important. So let me share with you here. First, emptiness. Okay, so emptiness to be equated with dependent origination. Emptiness to be equated with dependent origination on the basis of 5 points. 5 points. Number 1, emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. Emptiness is a short form of, number 4, emptiness is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number 4, emptiness of independent existence. Number 5 is, Number 1. Number 1 is emptiness. Number 1, if I'm confused. Okay. Number 1 is emptiness. Number 2 is emptiness of independent existence. Meaning that emptiness doesn't mean nothingness. It is the meaning of, it is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Okay, let's say, how many of you know who? How many of you know who? World Health Organization, right? Okay, some of you may wonder how people they get so clearly, they get so easily what he's saying, because they attended these classes many times before. Right? Those people who are new, you may feel demoralized. Oh, I have no hope. All these people, they're so smart, Even I did not know all these things many years ago. I learned it so many times, right? And those people who are saying so vibrantly now, they attend so many of these retreats before, right? Okay, so don't give up those people who are coming first time, right? You will also do the same thing next time, right? And then newcomer next time, they will feel demoralized, seeing you, wow, all this peace coming up. Okay, good. So never give up. 1, emptiness, just as WHO, it doesn't mean who. It's a short form of World Health Organization. Likewise, emptiness is it doesn't mean nothingness. It's a short form of emptiness of independent existence. So number 1, emptiness. Number 2, short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number 2, emptiness of independent existence means, number 3, nothing exists independently. Emptiness of independent existence means, number 3, nothing exists independently. Number 3. Okay, number 4, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence, dependently, right? Everything exists by dependence, number 4. Number 5, everything exists by dependence means everything is dependently originated, right? With these 5 points, we come to realize that emptiness doesn't mean nothingness, is the meaning of dependent origination. You're getting it? This is very important. Let me repeat this, particularly for those of us, the beginners, and those of us who are familiar, for you to get more stability. Okay, on the 1, point 1, emptiness. Number 2, emptiness is not nothingness. It is a short, say it with me. It is a short form of emptiness of independent existence. Number 2, let's say this again. Number 3, emptiness of independent existence means nothing exists independently. Number 3. Number 4, nothing exists independently means everything exists by dependence. Very good. Number 4, everything exists by dependence means everything is dependently originated. Very good. So therefore, the first, emptiness means dependent origination. Through these 5 points, we come to realize that emptiness means dependent origination. So first part is done. Now the second part, dependent origination means the middle way, right? How? In dependent origination, it has 2 signs. What are they? Dependence and origination. There are 2 signs, dependence and origination. Let's say dependence, first part, dependence. When you say dependence, what is the opposite of dependence? Independence. When you say dependence, you are rejecting independence. Independence and absolutism mean the same. So when you say dependence, you are rejecting the extreme of absolutism. This is dependence. What is the other side? Origination. When you say origination, something comes into origination. Something comes into existence. What is the opposite of existence? Non-existence. Non-existence and nihilism mean the same. So with origination, it rejects the extreme of nihilism. With dependence, the first one, dependence, it rejects the extreme of absolutism. With origination, it rejects the extreme of nihilism. Now, dependence or origination, bringing them together, rejects the 2 extremes. Reject the 2 extremes is following the middle way. So therefore, dependent origination is the meaning of the middle way. From this, what we learn is that the first one, emptiness means dependent origination. Number 2, dependent origination means the middle way. So therefore, by default, emptiness means the middle way. You're getting it? This is extremely important. So middle way means that if you say nothing exists, do things exist? Do things? Yes. If you say no, you fall into nihilism. You're getting it? Nihilism. So therefore, say it is not rejecting things existing. So it says, Those which are seen, heard or known are not to be negated. Part 1. Part 1, right? Part 2. What is negated is true existence is negated. True existence. Misperception of the true existence. Conception of true existence. That's true existence is what? Absolutism. True existence is that things existing truly is absolutism. That things exist independently, that things exist absolutely, that things exist truly. This is the absolutism. So you reject the absolutism, extreme of absolutism. So the second one, right? So by dependence, you reject the extreme of absolutism. By origination, you reject the extreme of nihilism. With the two questions, do things exist? What is your answer? Yes. That rejects which extreme? Extreme of nihilism. Second question, do things exist objectively? No. That rejects the extreme of absolutism. Rejecting two extremes is following the middle way. So therefore, Buddhism does not reject the existence of the person, the karma, existence of the flower. Everything exists. What the Buddhism rejects is objective existence, independent existence. That is rejected. Okay. And if we don't reject this, what's the problem? If we don't reject the objective existence, then our belief in objective existence will remain solidified. If that belief, self-grasping, which is self-grasping ignorance, believing that things exist objectively, if it remains so solid inside us, what happens? Our misery we will continue to be in the dream of samsara. And the dream will, and how many of you decide your dream? How many of you are going to have a pleasant dream tonight? We cannot decide. Dream we cannot decide, right? So the earlier karmic imprints, they are playing on us to create the dream for us. Likewise, the self-grasping ignorance creates the dream endlessly. Unless we get rid of this self-grasping ignorance, which creates the dream for us, the dream of the sickness, aging, death, misery, tension, stress, anxiety, the pain of losing near and dear ones, all these pains will continuously be created. These dreams will be created by the self-grasping ignorance. We will never be free from suffering. If you don't want to go through the suffering, what should we do? Just stop what creates the dream. Who creates the dream? Self-grasping ignorance. Just cut this. How to cut the self-grasping ignorance? By cultivating the wisdom of emptiness. So therefore, the wisdom of emptiness is the most important thing. It is for this reason that the Buddha Shakyamuni taught all these teachings in order to invoke the spirit, in order to invoke the seed of the wisdom of emptiness. Okay. Now, 26. Okay. Chittamatra again never gives up. Again, Chittamatra continues. Okay. So, we'll finish this. Otherwise, Chittamatra will never give up. Okay, we'll finish this. 26. The illusion is not separate from the mind. Despite being inseparable, it is still impermanent. Okay, let's say, but what they say is very convincing. Right? What they say very convincing. Say the mirror is like your mind, and the reflection of the flower, reflection of the flower in the mirror is like the flower that you see. The flower that you see in the mirror is seen as, how does it appear? As 3D or as 2D? As 3D, as real, right? So what we see here is 3D or 2D? 3D. So this is seen as so external, so real, right? So this prasanga is the Chittamatra saying that this is deceptive. He said, illusion is not separate from the mind. This is deceptive. It is not external. It's not external. It's just a reflection in your own mind, reflection, like a reflection in the mirror. Although this illusion is not separate from the mind, like the reflection not separate from the mirror, despite being inseparable, it is still impermanent. This reflection is impermanent. This reflection is reflection of the moon on the water body. That reflection is impermanent, permanent. Hey, you have never seen a reflection. Do you see a reflection in your mirror? Reflection in the mirror, is that impermanent, permanent? Impermanent, right? So it says that despite what you are seeing is illusion, it's not really there as external. is like a reflection. Still that reflection is impermanent. So therefore we can say that the object exists, object is impermanent, is fine. This is how Chittamathra they are saying. Illusion is not separate from the mind, meaning it is like the reflection, it is the same nature. Despite being inseparable, this illusion, the object is still impermanent. If it were, now these two lines are by Chittamathra, the next two are by Prasangika. If it were a thing, how could it not be different? If it were a thing meaning that, okay, if you're Chittamathra, what is your answer? The flower exists, not exists. If you're Chittamathra, right? Give me the answer. The flower exists, not exists. Huh? Okay, external flower exists, not exists. No. Flower exists, not exists. Yes, flower exists as a reflection on your mind. What is seen as external is deceptive, but it's actually a reflection. So the flower exists, but it exists not external, it exists as reflection in the mind. Okay, in future, don't say this to other teachers. Right? What you have to say is that it does not exist as external, it exists as the nature of the mind. This is the technical term. But how you should understand is that it exists as a reflection in the mind. You getting it? Okay. But the technical term is what? It's the nature of the mind. Very good. Okay. Now the second. If it were a thing. Okay, now this is the flower. Flower. Does it exist objectively or not? If you are Chittamathrins. You said the flower exists. It does not exist externally. Does it exist objectively? Huh? Okay. Which school? Chittamathra school. Chittamathra school? Okay, so this requires a little bit of explanation. I'm not too sure if I should give it now or different. Okay, I'll give it now. Okay, so basically what they say, okay, this could be a little technical. It's already 9:30. Okay, let's say, make it very short. I don't want to go into the detail. Let me very short. Let's say, all impermanent things exist objectively. All impermanent things. Okay, now let me go to technical, it doesn't matter. Okay, because I know that many of you are very serious and also have been into this for so long, right? Okay, say the Chittamathrins classify anything that will come to your mind. This is a very beautiful part of the Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist logic. Classification of the phenomena. So they classify everything that comes to your mind, whether existent, non-existent, it doesn't matter. They classify everything that comes to mind into three groups. Right? Okay, one is impermanent phenomena. Number two is ultimate reality. Number three is everything rest. Easy? Okay, what is the first group? Impermanent phenomena. This is known as, technically it is known as other-powered phenomena. Technically it is known as other-powered nature. What is number two? Ultimate reality. This is technically known as thoroughly established nature. Number three is known as imputed nature. Right? Everything that comes to your mind, whether existent, non-existent, can all be grouped into three. Okay, all of us here who are in this class, downstairs, upstairs, right? All of us here, I can classify you into two groups, right? Okay, 40 and below, and 40 plus. Is it correct? Can you think of anybody in this hall and upstairs, right? Can you think of anyone who does not fall into this two category? Okay, this is one way of classification. Another way of classification is, do you see? Do you agree with me or not? Another way of classifying everyone who is inside this hall and upstairs is, right, those who are sonamla and who are non-sonamla. Right? Right, it's correct? You cannot pinpoint to anybody who does not fall into any of these two categories. either sonamla or non-sonamla, right? So there are so many ways of classification. Likewise, say anything that comes to your mind, whether existent or non-existent, classified into three groups. What? Impermanent phenomena, technically known as other powered nature, and the number two, ultimate reality, technically known as thoroughly established nature, and number three, impure nature. Okay, now the three things, of the three, the first two, right? Of the three, the first two should exist truly, according to the mantra. The first two should exist truly. Third does not exist truly. The first two exist truly. What are the first two? Impermanent phenomena, other power nature, and ultimate reality. These two exist truly. Right? Okay. With this, 26. The illusion is not separate from the mind. Despite being inseparable, it's still... Okay, if it were a thing, okay, here, say, if it were a thing, meaning the object, particularly the impermanent object, that's object. If the object which is like the reflection in the mind, which is Chidamata saying, reflection in the mind, if this object, if it does exist as a flower, this one, if it does exist as a flower, and is it permanent or impermanent, according to the Matrins? Impermanent. Impermanent means you have to be truly existent, non-truly existent. Truly existent. If it truly existence, it should be independent existence. True existence, independent existence, all mean the same according to Prasangika, according to you. Right? It should be independent existent. If it is independently existent, it should not depend on any other factors. If it does not depend on any other factors, it should not depend on the mind also. Right? So where the mind is, like where the mirror is, the reflection comes. Where the mirror is not there, reflection is not there, it should not be dependent on the mind. So it should be independent of the mind, something different from the mind. You're getting it? This is the Prasangika's rejection. Okay. If it were a thing, how could it not be different from the mind? Right? If it were a thing meaning objectively existent thing or true thing, a thing which is truly existent. If it is truly existent, it should be independently existent. If it is independent, it should be independent of the mind. If it is independent of the mind, even without the mind, it should exist. Without the mind, if it exists, it should be separate from the mind. Right? It says, if it were a thing, how could it not be different from the mind? Different meaning, different from the mind. And if it is not different, it should not be independent. If it is not independent, it cannot be truly existent. Right? If it's not truly existent, then according to Chittamatrins, it cannot be impermanent phenomena. Because impermanent phenomena should be truly existent. Okay. And if it is not different, it could not be a thing, could not be a impermanent, truly existent thing. Okay. I think we'll stop here. Okay, we'll do a quick dedication prayer. Page 20.